was like any other day in the shop. Glenn and David were finishing up their last service request before it was time to leave. It was Friday, and it had been a busy day with a lot of customers. What they don't know is that what they encounter later will only be the start of their troubles. They worked at Midwest Mechanics and More. It is a small but very successful mechanical shop that does lubrications, oil changes, tire rotations, and more. Glenn had been working there for about 7 years, while David only 4. They are stepbrothers, and Glenn's wife, Sherry, had been introduced by David to him, who is David's sister. It's no surprise they are pretty close with one another. They go on vacations with their wives to the same locations, go see concerts and movies together. It's nothing those two won't do without the other. A very real sense of best friends. David was watching the clock, waiting for work to be over. It had been a long day, and a few customers were getting on David's nerves. A few of the customers had complained to David they had been waiting to get their vehicle serviced for more than an hour. David had explained that it wasn't his fault. Only Glenn and David were the only workers there at the time. Instead of getting angry at the customers, David just smiled and did his best to service the vehicles when he or Glenn could. Glenn was seeing how David was reacting and wanted to do something nice for his brother at the end of the day. The clock hits 5 p.m. David sighs with relief.
Oh man, thank goodness it's time to finish up and head home.
Glenn is wiping his hands as he is letting the last car down off the lift. Glenn says,
"Thank God it's Friday, man."
David smiles at Glenn as he takes the car out to the parking lot, and Glenn tells the customer over the intercom that the car is ready to be picked up. While waiting for the customer to pick up his car, Glenn and David are cleaning up the shop floor. Both of them are talking about what they got planned for tonight. David says to Glenn,
You know it's been a long day. I kind of want to chill out with Penelope tonight.
Glenn tells him, "Oh, come on, let's go out and have some fun. Blow off some steam, you know, like a guy's night." David ponders the question as he sweeps up the floor. He then replies with,
That sounds pretty good. What about the girls?
Glenn tells David,
You know what? Let's have them come with us. I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
David and Glenn nod in agreement as they come together and high-five. Later on, as both of them are locking up the shop for the weekend, Glenn says,
I'll call Siri and we'll meet up with you at your house later tonight. Is that cool?
David says,
All right, that's fine. I'll let Penelope know what's up too.
Both of them head into their vehicles, and Glenn rolls down the window in his truck and shouts to David,
Tonight is going to be unforgettable, bro. I just have a feeling.
Glenn then speeds off while David just smiles and shakes his head. He mutters to himself.
Yeah man, unforgettable.
A couple hours later, David and Penelope are hanging out on the couch until the doorbell rings. They look at each other and smile.
It must be them.
David gets up and opens the door. Glenn and Sherry are there and they exchange hugs. David says,
What's up bro? And hey there little sis.
Glenn and Penelope exchange hugs and a kiss on the cheek while David and Sherry walk into the kitchen to catch up for a bit before they head out. Sherry and David ask each other how has each other been up to and what's been going on before Glenn comes in and asks in excitement,
Oh man, you guys are going to freak out what I got planned for tonight.
David smiles, he turns around and replies with curiosity. Glenn, with exuberance, tells everyone,
Well, while on break at work, I found a seller of 4 tickets to Caleb Wright and Company.
Everyone stops what they were doing. They look at Glenn in shock. Everyone exclaims,
You got 4 tickets to Caleb Wright?
Glenn nods and then shouts out,
With VIP backstage passes.
All 4 of them start cheering and jumping up and down.
Oh my god! You son of a bitch! You are insane!
David yells out. Penelope and Sherry are both hugging and jumping up and down screaming. Caleb Wright and company are the hottest band on tour right now, and they are playing their second studio album only 20 minutes away in Chicago, Illinois. The concert starts at 9 p.m. and they also have backstage passes to meet the members of the band. David and Glenn high-five and David says,
Dude, this is crazy. How did you manage to get 4 tickets on such short notice?
Glenn just shrugs his shoulders and goes,
Sometimes you just get lucky. They are on my phone and all legit guys.
Penelope and Sherry look at the time on the kitchen stove. It says 7:15 p.m. Then Sherry in jubilant says,
I don't know about you guys, but I think it's time to get this show on the road. Let's go.
David and Glenn both nod and agree.
Let's blow this popsicle stand.
All 4 of them head into David's SUV and they start blaring the radio to their favorite song on the way to the concert. David is driving. Next to him in the passenger seat is Penelope. Behind David is Sherry, and next to Sherry is Glenn. You'll know why that's important later. Glenn tells David while they're heading onto the highway just a few minutes from the house.
Hey, there's that back road that leads right up to the venue. Why don't we take that?
David, being in a joyful mood, says,
Oh, what the hell? Why not?
David takes the next turn on the right instead of the highway. They're driving down the road and singing their favorite song, just enjoying themselves. Then they come up to a stop sign and the road ahead starts to get foggy. The group doesn't think anything of it and they look and keep going down the road. About a mile down the road, the fog gets denser and denser. David puts on the fog lights and slows down. Everyone in the SUV looks around at the fog. David says,
Man, where did this fog come from?
Sherry behind him says,
I don't know, but I've got a bad feeling.
David looks at his sister at another stop sign that they barely see coming up against and he goes,
Maybe we're in one of those monster movies and something comes out and gets us.
In a joking manner. Penelope and Glenn laugh out loud. Glenn retorts with,
Roar! I'm the abominable snowman. You better watch out.
he says as he pretends to bite Sherry. Just as Sherry pushes Glenn away from her while laughing, something comes up in the middle of the roadway. Penelope screams,
David, what is that? Watch out.
David shouts out.
Oh shit! What the fuck is that?
David swerves out of the way and eventually loses control of the SUV, making it flip over and roll 3 times before coming to a stop at the tree line by the roadway. The SUV is absolutely destroyed. Steam and fluids are billowing out of the vehicle. At closer glance, there appears to be a speed limit sign embedded into the windshield on Penelope's side of the SUV. David is the first to wake up and he is absolutely dazed. His head is pounding and is bleeding. Glass from the windows has cut his left arm and face up pretty bad. He looks to his right where Penelope is, and what he sees will leave him nightmares for the rest of his life. Penelope is cut up by the glass on her face, arms, hands, and knees. However, what is more concerning is the speed limit sign sticking out of her chest as it busted right through the windshield. David in horror yells and screams. David hurriedly and in a panic tries to stir Penelope awake and to see what he can do to help her.
Penelope, oh my god! Wake up! Please, you gotta wake up! Don't leave me! Stay with me!
There is no response. Penelope has blood flowing out of her mouth and chest like a river. David grabs Penelope's hand and checks for a pulse. He anxiously waits to hear something. Anything at all. Unfortunately, as he begs and pleads for Penelope to wake up, it's no use.
Penelope is dead.